What do you get when you combine simplified practice marketing, proven ROI strategy, and Van skate shoes? You get Mark Thackeray, of course. So lace up, grab your green smoothie, and get ready, because this is Dental Marketing Secrets. And this is Mark.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets podcast, where we provide actionable tips and tricks that you can apply immediately to grow your practice so that you can serve more patients and ultimately leave a greater impact. That is what it's all about. That's the name of the game. My name is Mark Thackeray, and as always, I'm excited to be here with you. It's a glorious day here in the Salt Lake Valley, and our guest is actually not too far away. So excited to have Cory Pinegar on the line with me. He's the CEO of CallForce, which is a dental solutions company that is dedicated to helping dentists succeed in their practices by helping them improve their overdue hygiene recall, among other things too. I know they do a lot of different things, but Cory, so excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. And just out of curiosity, what part of Salt Lake are you from?
I'm up in Sandy, so just at the base of Little Cottonwood Canyon.
So I went to Waterford.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
So really close to where you are.
Yeah, stone's throw, just down the way. That's a great school. Great school. So where are you now?
So we're based in Provo. So I attempted to go to Brigham Young University.
Yeah.
And then dropped out with some really good opportunities. I'll finish one day. That's for my dad. And been in Provo for 5 years and hopefully not too much longer.
Yeah. No, there's some great things about Utah County, about Provo in particular. And but stoked to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about CallForce too. So yeah, dive into that a little bit deeper, unpack what that is, what you guys do, how you guys help.
Yep. So I'll kind of give a backstory that leads into what CallForce is. So you're probably familiar with Weave. They're also in Salt Lake Valley, like every other dental company in the world.
I know.
And in 2016, I had the opportunity to work there. My aunt was the executive assistant for the CEO. And my aunt called me and said, hey, we've got a closet. And I mean, it was a huge closet full of returned phones from canceled customers. Would you want $500 to come clean the closet? I was a college student. I could do it any hours that I wanted. So I was like, heck yeah, man, like swing me up there. I was going up at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And one night I was cleaning. I mean, no one's there at 11 o'clock at night, or should be there at 11 o'clock at night. But the COO, his name was Jared Rodman, peeks his head around the corner to this closet. And he's like, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah, serious. Who's this guy?
And I'm like, don't. I'm just cleaning the closet, please. And we forged a really good friendship from that. So it turned in from, a $500 project to eventually becoming the project manager for the CEO and COO of Weave.
Nice.
And so I got a lot of cool opportunities. And because of that, we formed a great relationship. And in 2016 in December, Weave was not the rocket ship that it is today. They were in a cash crunch situation where the venture capital firms that backed them said, hey, you need to either lay off about 40 to 60% of your staff, or we will lay off the C-suite.
Shoot.
Now, obviously, that's a very easy decision for the C-suite to save their own jobs and, cut part of the company.
Right.
And that allowed the opportunity for my partner and I, Casey Henson, to purchase a part of Weave that was called Recall Solutions. So in December of 2016, we bought that portion from them, and that's turned into CallForce today.
2016. Wow.
So really weird story and really fortuitous and lucky. But it's turned into an awesome opportunity we've been able to help thousands of dentists so far.
That is so awesome. So awesome. And all over the country. Are you guys working internationally or just focused primarily in the States?
Mostly due to security and HIPAA laws, we stick to the United States.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I figured.
And we don't have those French accents down yet.
Yeah. Shoot. One day. Well, yeah, let's dive into this because I want to unpack what this recall monster that's going on right now, especially now, but it's always been around. I think it's one thing that practices all over are looking at, staring in the face. They know how important it is, but there's also inherent challenges to tackling that. But let's back up for a minute. So what are you hearing right now? Describe the current situation with practices around the country. What are they telling you right now?
Yep. It's a great question. Right now is probably the biggest panic. And right now the panic is coming much more from the enterprise side of dentistry, or the corporate side of dentistry. Most dentists right now have packed schedules through the end of September.
Right.
But the issue that corporate dentistry and other dentists are looking at is they're looking at the end of October and November, and their hygiene schedule is bare.
Right.
And the reason that this happened is COVID closed all of our offices in the United States. And so the reappointments that generally happened in March and April did not happen. And because of that, and even in early June, there's no reappointments for the end of October, November. And so dentists are scrambling because obviously if you don't have hygiene production, your actual treatment production is going to struggle 2 to 4 weeks later than that. So there's a direct correlation between how much hygiene you have scheduled and how much diagnosed dentistry you actually provide.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a massive challenge right now and we work with, I traditionally have worked a lot with DSOs and on the corporate side, but also, more recently we work with individual practices, and even them, they're facing the same thing. I hear a lot of that. October, November is really wide open. What can we do to fill that up? Right.
Yep.
So dive into that. What is, I guess let's focus, let's sit there for a second. Talk about recall in general, though. Like this is such a major component to the practice success, right? I mean, but why is that? Why would you say, Cory? What would you say to that question?
Well, let's go to the big picture here. If you're going to grow a business, fundamentally, you have to have more new customers than you attrit. Mm-hmm. And the problem that dental practices experience is that 17.1% of their customers or patients every year attrit because they move, they go to another dentist, they pass away, or some of them just don't go back because they get their teeth cleaned every 10 years like my dad does.
Yes.
And so there's this natural struggle that you have to bring in an enormous amount of new patients to break even. And so that causes recall to be a major focus, because if you can, instead of attritting 17%, attrit 9 or 8%, and you add 21%, instead of growing 4% as a practice and customer base, you're going to grow 12 to 13%. And your revenues and production are going to grow astronomically with that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of, it's an easy analogy is looking at like a bucket, right? And those that leave, those patients that leave, there's always going to be a hole, because there's those that, like you said, they either choose another dentist, they don't come back, some do pass away, or they move, or for whatever reason, they're no longer patients. And so the size of your hole depends on your ability, it's your recall system, essentially. How effective your recall system is can shrink that hole, that leak. And otherwise you're just going to have to, and this is what I see a lot of practices doing. They just are so focused on new patients, just because they've never really understood recall. You know what I'm saying? Like they just
and it's an ugly monster. It's easier to say I had 20 new patients this month instead of, last month we reactivated 11 of them. It's just, It's a less sexy thing to do, but in terms of growing your revenue and your profitability, it is essential.
Absolutely. It's critical. Well, and the thing is too, that they get so, like you said, they get so hung up on the appeal of, hey, I have this many new patients every single month. They lose focus on how much easier it is to, to rebuild that trust with that person or reactivate a patient. It's so much easier.
A reactivated patient is worth more. You're not going to go to the dentist the first time and say, hey, actually, I wanted, a full mouth rehab. Let me write you a $44,000 check. Right. It takes rapport and relationships for high value treatment. Yeah. But when you reach out to your patients and you say, hey, I noticed that you are overdue and I'm concerned. And we actually have a couple times open at the end of this week. Is Monday or is Thursday at 11 or Friday at 2 better for you? You're building relationships because you care. The patients believe you care, and you do.
Yeah.
Dentists take an oath to protect and take care of their patients. And so if we let them sit on the books for 3 years, of course, they're going to have a nasty amount of work that needs to be done. And so we play preventative and proactive, and we really bring in more treatment when we're calling because we care.
Yeah. And I love that point that you just brought up. Just it demonstrates your commitment to their oral health. I mean, it showcases that you are willing to go out of your way to make sure that they're doing okay, because we're not talking about high pressure and getting people, headlocking them and dragging them back into the practice. We're simply reaching out to them, letting them know that they're missed. We miss seeing them, and we are concerned about their mouth, their teeth, everything that's involved there.
And let's even break it down further that most hygiene appointments are covered by insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're calling, the patient doesn't feel sold. Hey, yeah, we need to bring you back in for that, $110, oil change.
Right.
Hey, you have 2 preventative visits a year. Let's get you to use them so you're not paying $1,500 for a crown in 2 years. It's caring.
Right. Yeah, it's that ounce of prevention, is worth a pound of what do they say? What did Benjamin Franklin say? And a pound of cure, or I forget the exact word, but yeah, it's just that mentality that, hey, we're going to focus on these smaller things to prevent them from becoming larger, more painful, more expensive problems down the road. So, but how, so what are your conversations like when you're talking with doctors or with practices? Because I know they're still so focused on new patients. What are you saying in that conversation to help them catch the vision of recall?
Well, it takes a system. And when it doesn't need to be the core focus of your conversation. When you have a great system that captures those reactivated patients. And so let's really break down what that means. So most practices have something called a PRS system, which is a patient relationship software.
Right.
Examples of that in no order of favor would be Weave, Solution Reach, Lighthouse, Demand Force, but it allows you to hold a relationship with your patients.
Right.
And most practices text their patients to remind them, hey, we haven't seen you. We'd love to get you back on the schedule. And that's great. And we need to be doing that. That's probably step 1, to be honest, in getting the low-hanging fruit. That's automated, that's taken care of. And if they respond, you get them scheduled. But it goes beyond that. And there was a study by Fortune magazine in healthcare, I think 2 years ago, that broke down preferred forms of communication for healthcare patients. And I believe that 40% of patients prefer a text message. And obviously there's an age range that prefers that. That's millennials, that's people early in their 30s, that's teens.
Right.
Because for us, it's normal. But then that's only 40%. There's also another 60%, and it breaks down pretty evenly after that 30% preferring email. There's guys probably like my dad who check their email more than they check their phone.
Right.
And it's a way to get a quick response during the day. Mm-hmm. And so again, we need to make sure that we have a system, and usually your patient relationship software can handle that automated email, but we need to make sure to always receive that email as part of our new patient package, and we're just not texting them. Because what we prefer as a form of communication, we cannot infer to be other people's saying.
Right. That's a great point.
So we've got a text, we've got an email, and then we've also got a call. And calling is interesting because it's not your preferred form of communication. Like, I would rather get a text, but to be honest, it's because I can put my phone down and I don't have to respond in that moment.
Right.
But if I call you and you answer, you're put in that spot where you have to say yes to my offering or no to my offering.
Right.
And so when you have a well-rounded attack, to put it lightly, then you're most effective on lowering the attrition of your patients in your practice. And that doesn't mean call them once and then say, okay, yeah, we reached out to him, we left him a voicemail, he'll call us back. We recommend reaching out every month.
Every month.
When you're reaching out in a caring way, it's not pushy. And if someone says, hey, let me call you back when I have an availability, then we're not going to pester them.
Right.
But you have to be in the front of people's minds. Mm-hmm. But if you message them once, they're not going to remember you in 2 years. They're going to look up a new dentist. But if you message them or reach out to them 3 times over the next 6 months, and then they chip their tooth, I would hope, and I would also bet that they're going to be reaching out to your practice because they're in the front of your mind, or you're in the front of their mind.
Right.
And that's the rapport and, I guess, system that you need to create, where you're reaching out all of these methods. And we can talk about a method for actually making the calls, but you need to be doing it consistently, because you never know when it's going to turn into an opportunity.
Right. Exactly. They need to, and that's what's great about all these different things is that, yeah, like you said, Cory, it just builds that relationship, builds the rapport, builds the credibility, so that when they are ready, they will reach out to you. You know, I mean, it's already in their phone, for example, or they're on the phone with you, and they recognize, yes, you know, I haven't been in for 12 months. I want to get things checked. I don't feel any pain, but I understand the importance of this. Let's do it. Yep. You know, it's one thing I can cross off my list. So definitely. So what is this? Can you give us some case studies, you know, for those that you've helped to really develop this system to help create this formalized recall system? What does that look like as far as numbers go, transforming the entire practice?
Yep. So a couple of tidbits to start in creating or outsourcing your own system is call later in the afternoon. When you call someone at 10 o'clock, there is a 9% chance that they're going to be home. But when you reach out from 4 to 7:30 at night, there's about an 80% chance that you'll get a voicemail. So you're twice as likely. So in your efforts, you're spending your time more effectively.
Yes.
Number one, you've just got to make sure you're going in the right time. Number two is that you've got to be calling with the right script. They're not doing anything wrong. You're not making them feel bad, but you're letting them know, hey, the doctor noticed you are overdue for your professional hygiene clean, and he just wanted me to give you a call. I actually have a time open this Thursday or this Friday. What's best for you? And what's interesting there is you're not saying, hey, do you want to come back in for your hygiene cleaning? Right. You're not putting them in a position where no is an answer. When I say, hey, is Thursday morning or Friday afternoon best for you? The only response is Friday afternoon or Thursday morning, which is yes or yes.
Right.
And so you've got to put them in a position and tee them up for success.
I love that. That's a great point.
And then finally, and we can even dive into these details further, is that you've got to be marking things properly in your system, that you're just not placing a call to someone. And if they say, hey, I've moved out of state, you're not marking it, because your efforts should be effective. Mm-hmm. So if you find out someone's passed away or had a bad experience, notate that and inactivate them within the system.
Right.
Because if you're just calling on dull leads, first of all, you're going to irritate patients that told you they've moved or they've, you know, the family member has passed away. And that's going to cause a bummer or bad experience for those patients. Mm-hmm. And second of all, your time is just much more effective when you do it that way.
Right. Plus, it makes everything, you're reporting more accurately on the overall health of your practice when you do that.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we recommend calling, last little note, is from when the patient is overdue to 36 months after. That's what we see as a sweet spot for calling. Obviously, you can send text messages to everyone in your database. Mm-hmm. Calling is a little more tedious and time consuming. Where we've seen it effective to spend your efforts is from when they're overdue to 3 years after. And it's easy to pull that report from your practice management software.
That's cool. And that's even, farther than those that have a recall system generally go. I mean, a lot of times they'll go maybe 18 months. That's kind of this. Yeah, I see a lot of that where they just, okay, after 18 months, we've been trying, nothing's going, but you've seen up to 3 years.
Oh yeah. And the interesting thing is if you're going to get someone in after 24 months, I can place a, pretty good bet that there's going to be some significant work. And so you're going to get less of them in, but the value of those patients and the help that you can provide to those patients is substantial.
That's a great point to remember, that yes, your long-term efforts are going to pay off, certainly in terms of revenue, but more importantly, in terms of value that you can and service you can provide to your patients.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And with the scripting we discussed, I think it's relatively very easy to expect about a 30 to 40% on-call conversion rate. So if you reach someone, that's a good cadence or statistic that we expect on the recalls that we reach.
So, yeah. So 3 to 4 out of 10 of the people that you're talking to on the phone should essentially sign up or schedule an appointment. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. Yes.
Cool. That's powerful, man. That's powerful, because I think a lot of people think, man, this isn't working. Probably most practices aren't even tracking, if how successful their recall efforts are, if they're doing them. But I think a lot of them just kind of lump the entire experience into this same thought that it's just not working. Like it's, people don't want to call. And so talk to me too, Cory, about what are some of the biggest challenges. Let's say a practice gets really excited to revamp their recall system, to jump on this train. What are some of the biggest obstacles they face, or the common mistakes that they make?
Yeah. So I was just taking notes as you said that. It's the system. If you have Becky, who is your hygienist, call when no one is scheduled to come in, that's not a system, because it's not at the right time. It's not consistently scheduled. But if you are going to implement an in-house recall system, then you need to block off 2 to 3 hours per week consistently, where that person's going to call during the correct times, and that they've been trained, and that their incentive is aligned with you, because Becky gets paid off production, or she has some downtime. So the last thing she's going to want to do when she has a second is go make 20 calls during that hour. Right. But if you create incentives and alignment, she's going to call more. She's going to work more to get them scheduled. And if you do it during the right hours, it's going to be really effective. And so you need to create systems that happen every week consistently, because the problem that practices have, and I wish I could draw this out, is you get really busy. And so you don't usually do your hygiene recall. Right. Because everyone's maxed out on their time.
Yeah.
But what happens then is you're creating that next pocket, because no one's filling the upcoming schedule. And then you're not going to get busy. So you start doing your recalls, which takes you back up that hygiene production peak. Mm-hmm. Then you get busy again and no one does the recalls. And so you fall down in that pit, and it's up and down, up and down, up and down consistently, because again, there's not a system. So remember to dedicate time to do it.
And it shouldn't, how long would you say for someone to get, would you just say, hey, let's do, an hour, 2 hours a week, just dedicated time?
Yeah, that's great. It really depends on how big your practice is, because if you have 4 to 6 hygienists, it's going to take significantly more. If you have 2 hygienists that are part-time, 2 hours a week. So really you need to calculate that back on how much production could you be scheduling, and how large is that overdue hygiene list that you're working?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what about this? You mentioned incentives, creating incentives to help motivate those that are calling. What would you recommend there? How would you get started with those?
So we pay our schedulers to schedule hygiene appointments.
Yeah.
And schedule quality appointments. So the more appointments they schedule, the more of a commission or bonus they receive. And that way it's not a drag, but it's an opportunity to go out there and increase their paycheck. And that way it's not the organization or the office against the employees. It's that you're really aligned in helping your patients and helping create more production.
Nice. So powerful. Yeah. It just helps everyone all around, and that's what we really want. Is we want to, like you said, we want to avoid those dramatic shifts, those downturns, and make it more even all the way up, all the way above, keep it up high consistently month after month. Any other challenges that you see practices come across when they're starting to get excited about recall?
I think just proper training, proper scripting. But no, to be honest, recall is not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's just the ugly part of the practice. No one loves making outbound calls where 1 person out of 10 answers.
Right.
It's not anyone's favorite thing to do. So it's avoided. And I think that's the major pitfall, is that anyone will do anything to avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. None of us wake up in the morning thinking, I want to go make some phone calls to people that are not going to answer. They just don't do that.
Yeah.
But so I had a question as you're talking about that. Do you typically, would you recommend leaving a voicemail if they don't answer?
This is the $1 million question that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
Because if you leave a voicemail, you cannot call them back as frequently, we believe, because you've kind of set the tone of why you've called. So if you don't leave a voicemail, you can reach back out in 3 to 6 weeks and say, hey, just reaching out again if you get them on the phone. If you do leave a voicemail, they may call you back. I don't know the clear answer. for that one, to be honest. I wish I did. Whoa. But that was crazy. My chair just like snapped back there. Better to acknowledge it than not just have a whoa in the middle of that. But yeah, we don't know the clear answer. We're still testing that. So we're hoping in the next couple months to know that answer better. But I think it really depends on how much time you want to dedicate as a practice. And if you want to dedicate maybe 1 or 2 hours a week, it may be better to leave voicemails and then get the calls back during your open hours.
That's good. Good tip. Good tip. So yeah, just, test it out and then just check that, evaluate the results and see if, hey, this month we are going to leave voicemails if we're not getting them, and let's analyze and just see if we've seen more of a lift that way. If not, let's try the other approach the next month, and we'll just analyze and move forward on that. So with going back to scripting, do you generally keep it? I mean, you kind of gave us a script right there when you were just saying, I mean, it can be that simple, right?
Oh yeah, no, this is overcomplicating it is only going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
You don't want to be talking about the treatment that they're overdue for. You want to get them in the chair. Mm-hmm. And then you can take an intraoral image. Then you can take an x-ray. Then you can discuss the bigger ticket items, but get them in for a preventative cleaning that is mostly covered.
Right.
And one more important note about recall appointments is that you want to schedule them as soon as possible. New patients or, reappointments, you can push out 6 months, but those are the people that are consistently showing. Recall appointments, the reason they're on this list is because they didn't show for an appointment. And so when we are generally scheduling, we're looking only 48 to 72 hours in advance, because you can have a completely full schedule till the end of September, but people are going to call about 2 p.m. today and want to cancel, or 10 a.m. tomorrow morning when they receive their reminder. Yeah. And you want to be filling those appointments with your recall appointments, because then they have a higher likelihood of showing. And so we always try to say schedules are great, even if you're busy till September, the end of September. That doesn't mean you're not going to have a cancel this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I love that too, because it shows how much you prioritize those patients. I mean, they're feeling like, hey, they're very accommodating to me, which you should be as a practice. I mean, these are people that have already kind of gone over that bridge of trust with you, which is always the biggest hurdle. And so now if you're extending this out to them, this appointment, making it easier for them to come in, you're just trying to remove as much friction as possible to get them to come back in the chair. I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay. So I've written down some notes here. So be consistent and schedule time in every single week. You're basically trying to create a formal system of recall. It's not just whenever you get the chance, or whenever I have time, or whenever, our appointments go zero, go totally blank. We're going to do this every month, regardless. Every week, we're going to do this every single time. We're going to create incentives so that results in better alignment for everyone on the team. We're looking at having proper training, the proper discussion around this, scripting, keeping it short and simple, not overcomplicating everything. And then the last one I had was, recall, get them in as soon as possible, and just focus on the basic, focus on just getting them in for the cleaning, and then you can talk about everything else. Is that a good summary? Okay.
Yeah. And it's simple. It's not beyond that. And if you do those simple 4 to 6 things, you're going to hit a home run as a practice. I mean, we schedule thousands of appointments every day. We take thousands of calls every day. And these are what allow us to be a leader in the industry. And we want to share those exact same practices.
Yeah. Well, and that's transformational when you get this down and you're able to, have this type of conversion rate. I wrote that down. I'm circling it, 30 to 40% conversion rate of those that actually pick up the phone. That is tremendous. And these are people that, again, you've already invested heavily in your marketing, whether that was time or effort to get them to come in for the first time. And now you're getting them to come back. And so that is just huge, when you look at your profitability as a practice. So if you think of, Cory, some of your clients, I know you guys have lots and lots and lots of clients. If you can pick some of those, tell me what some of the success that you guys have seen from this with those clients.
So on a minimum side, for every dollar people generally spend with us, they're going to see about $15 in production created.
Nice.
To put it in very much more simple terms, there was a practice. It's middle size. I think we scheduled 223 appointments over a year for them that were reactivated. And I know we brought in $193,716
Wow.
in production. And that doesn't mean it came from the hygiene appointment. The
Right.
hygiene appointment, again, to be clear, is not the breadwinner. It's not the home run. It's the start of the conversation that leads to the additional treatment.
Right.
And so you're not just saying, okay, well, I got them back in and it's a $48 pro fee because I take Delta Dental.
Mm-hmm.
We then have to say, okay, we, placed a bridge, we did a veneer, we did a crown. And when you encompass that over the year, and then you also have to realize, okay, Cory was scheduled and we reappointed and he showed, then it really worked.
Oh, 100%. You got to look at the lifetime value of that patient, for everything that comes from them. And a lot of times you'll see too, when you reactivate a patient, and you see this because you see this a lot with patients in general, but I feel this is true, especially with reactivated patients, as I feel like they become more vocal for your practice because you've gone out of your way to really kind of bring them back in and show them, hey, this is what we can do for you to help you feel better about yourself, to help you feel healthier and stronger and all that. So they're likely going to share that, be a little bit more vocal, and bring in additional patients because of that. It's just
there's an immense of intangible value in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to remember that as you're going through this, it's not this short-term, hey, we got it, like you said, a $48 pro fee. That's not the end of it. That is just the start. And like Cory was saying, because I hope everyone just writes this down because it's so crucial. You're just trying to get them to take the easiest step possible to come back into your practice. That is all that you're trying to do. And then from there, it's all about relationship. You have them in the chair, you're talking to them, you're asking them questions, you're reestablishing that rapport if you haven't seen them a while. And then you kind of help them see what could be possible. Maybe you're outlining or identifying key areas of concern and then providing some options on how to move forward. But people are naturally, once they're educated on the situation, they naturally most people are going to be like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, I want to find a solution to my problems. I don't want to have all these issues in my mouth.
Yep. And my teeth feel so good every time I get them cleaned. Like, it's a win once you walk out the door.
Yeah. Well, and so many people too, they know intellectually, they've known for years that they need to do this, and so you are helping them cross that thing off their list, making them feel better about doing that. I'm one of those people that if I did something and, sometimes I'll go back in my planner and write it down just so I can cross it off. Like, I'm one of those people that gets a lot of satisfaction of doing that. And that's another way to look at it, is you're providing patients that ability to take better care of themselves and feel good about doing that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So, okay. Well, Cory, tell us, I know we're running up on time here, but tell us, for those that want to get in touch with you, connect with you, or learn more about CallForce, what you guys do, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. So we actually have put together recently kind of a white paper or an ebook on our best recall tips and tricks.
Awesome.
And we put together a landing page for you guys. So if people just go to info@getcallforce.com/dental marketing secrets, they can download the ebook there. It provides everything that we spoke about today. And obviously people can always reach us through our webpage to learn more. But we really just want the dental community to win. And we believe the more good we do for patients, the more good we do for dentists, everyone's going to be happier.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, Cory and I were talking just before we hit record, just about this industry. And there's just so many great people involved, and there's just a spirit of collaboration, amongst a lot of the vendors in the dental industry. And we can take advantage of that, to help everyone. Like, that's what's so cool about this. And that's a great example. Cory's ebook is a great example of this, where you can literally see what the best in the industry are doing on recall. Like, you can, it's so cool. So tell me again that domain to go to.
Okay. So it's info info.getcallforce.com and then /dental marketing secrets. I can email it to you after so we can post that in the show notes or whatever would be best. But that really summarizes everything we discussed and even more.
Awesome. So info.getcallforce.com /dental marketing secrets. And yeah, I will post that up in the show notes so you guys can access that. And then Cory, if people want to get in touch with you, or what's the best way to connect with you? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. My email is also just Cory, CORY @getcallforce.com. And anyone can email me. We're here to help. And we believe the more good we do, the more we grow as a company too.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thanks, Cory. I know you're a busy man, but thank you for jumping on the show. This was tremendous. I know I have, you could see it right here, but I've got my outline. It's all riddled with notes. There's so many good things on there. But thanks again for joining us. We'll have to have you back in the future.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Did you enjoy this episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast? Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And for more proven marketing strategies to grow your practice, visit practicerocket.net.